Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Mike from 1AAuto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And next time you need parts for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we're going to show you how to replace the turn signal stalk on this 2003 GMC Sonoma, same as any GMC Sonoma, the S15 pickup, as well as the Jimmy and the Chevy Blazer, as well as S10 pickup. This switch controls a lot of different functions: turn signals, high beams, wipers, cruise control, as well as it is your horn switch. So if you're having issues with those, it could be this switch. Not too many tools needed, but some special ones. You need an 8mm wrench, 7 and 10mm sockets with ratchet, and some probably long extensions, a T25 Torx Driver, and one that not many people are going to have. It's an E5 star bolt socket. Use an 8mm wrench and disconnect your negative battery cable. Start by removing the pan that's underneath the steering column. There are 4 7mm bolts recessed into the panel, as well as 4 down along the bottom edge. Okay, and I'll speed through it as I remove those 8 bolts. Just a couple tips. The one that's right above the emergency brake, just push the emergency brake down some. Makes it easier to get to that one. And then once this panel, it is clipped in, so once you get the bolts off, you'll have to kind of pull it firmly and it'll unclip. And then it, just because of the emergency brake cable, it doesn't come fully out of the vehicle, so you just kind of pull it down and out of your way. Okay, now you need to remove this pan underneath, and there's 2 10mm bolts holding it there, and 2 10mm bolts holding it on the other side. So using a 10mm socket with a ratchet and a long extension, I'll remove the 4 nuts that hold that pan on, and then pull the pan right out. Might have to kind of pull it out at an angle so it comes out, and just be careful that you don't, sometimes those nuts will drop down, and just make sure you collect them before you move on to the next step. Underneath on the right hand side of the steering column is the cruise control release. There's a green tab here. Push that out carefully. Okay, and then disconnect it. Tab right here. Push on that tab. And push it out. Okay, using a pair of snips or some other type of sharp tool, carefully cut these wire ties. Okay, there's about 3 wire ties showing. Cut those, then remove that kind of armor blanket, and then there's a few more wire ties inside there that you need to cut. Again, carefully so you don't sever any wires. Okay, and then this clip you push out. And bring that down. If you follow the wires down and kind of above where your brake pedal is, you'll see a junction block. Okay, you see, there's my finger. There's an extension with a 7mm socket. I'm removing the bolt out of the center of the junction block. Okay, once you remove that bolt, and this comes unplugged. We've already unplugged our harness there. Pull this out. Use a screwdriver and just pry out on your tilt lever, and it comes right out. Now there are 2 T25 screws to remove from the bottom of the steering column. Speed it up here as we remove those screws, and then you pull down firmly on the bottom half of your steering column cover. It snaps apart, and then you move it back and it comes out. Okay, once you have those off, then right over here, the ignition key side, right up under where the lock cylinder is, there's an E5 star bolt. Put my socket right up on there, and you want to remove that bolt. You might want to take your tilt lever, put it back in, bring this down. You want to have bring your gear shift lever all the way down, and then this comes up and off. Okay, now you have another set of wires that goes up to the top of your steering column. Okay, actually if we look right back in here.
And I really wasn't able to film this very well, but what you want to do is use a small flat blade screwdriver, follow the wires to the plug. You want to pry a little bit on the receptacle on top of the plug and then pull it out, and you'll pull out a small green plug right there.
Okay, now the assembly is held in by 2 screws, a T25 up here and one right here, and you can see I've moved the steering wheel so the top of it's pointing right there so I can get to that screw.
And speed it up here as I just remove those 2 T25 Torx screws.
That out, you can pull this right up. Kind of carefully pull this out. It may be still wired to some other stuff.
And sure enough, there's a couple more wire ties that I just have to clip.
Bring your junction block out. And what you need to do is take a screwdriver, put it right in here, pry just a little bit, and they slide forward. Okay. And there's your whole assembly out.
Okay, my original one's on the bottom, the new one from 1A Auto's on the top, and you can see they're exactly the same. Most importantly, the connectors that go in are exactly the same, so it's going to plug in the same. The small connector that goes on top of the steering column and the cruise control connector, you'll just want to take those pieces of tape off and free them up so that you can run them up and over the harness, or up and over the steering column and plug them in. For this vehicle, the original one is actually working fine, so I am going to reinstall the original one.
So to reinstall, take your junction block, and these are designed only to go in one way. Okay, so you really can't do it wrong. But you just put it in, snap it back in place, and make sure none of this is in your way. Take this one, put it in, snap it back in place. Okay. Route your junction block down in there, just kind of roughly. And we'll put this up and into this loop here, just to kind of hold it up along with our ABS wire. Okay. And then we'll put it down and in.
Okay, and I'm going to kind of use fast forward here, as putting it back together is just a reverse of the procedure. You put the switch into place. Make sure you start both T25 Torx bolts first. You may have to lift up a little bit to get the second one in. Just make sure you put them in straight. Don't cross thread them or anything. And then once you tighten them up, route that small green connector up and over the steering column and plug it in the back side. Now take the green and black lead for the cruise control cancel and put it back and over your steering column, and then plug it in and install the little safety clip as well.
Okay, get our main connector pushed up in there and start the bolt in and tighten it up. Okay, now you can just reconnect your battery and test everything. And you can hear as I'm reconnecting my battery, you can see my flashers are on. That's alright. I know they work now. The flashers off. Left blinker, right blinker, horn, wipers, flash, all that good stuff works.
You can disconnect your battery again if you want. You really don't have to, though. fast forward again here as I'm just using some plastic wire ties, wire tying the harnesses together, then putting that kind of shield, that chafe shield, back over around the wires, and some more wire ties on that, and making sure that all the wires are grouped together and up in that clip. Now I'm putting the upper steering column trim on. Put it down in there. Make sure that you get the shifter boot slid up in there correctly, and then that E5 star bolt, put that up in and tighten it up. And now put the lower trim panel on. It has hooks at the rear, so make sure you hook it into the upper steering column cover, and then it kind of comes up and snaps. The two pieces snap together, and then put those T25 Torx screws back in and tighten them up nice and firm. Put your tilt lever back in, move it up, and then put that belly pan, it's kind of a security pan, back in with the 4 10mm nuts. I just put the nuts right into the socket and then guide them right up in there with the extension. Put them in, tighten them up again nice and firm. Okay, and now we're going to put the trim panel back up and in place. Make sure that on the lower edge there's the plastic that goes below it. It goes kind of in between the plastic and the dash. Okay, and then it clips into place on the upper side, and then put the 8 7mm bolts back in and tighten them up. And if you haven't already reconnected your battery, reconnect the battery and you should be all set.
We hope this helps you out. Brought to you by www.oneauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.